And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you to the Cherry Bowl. It's the start of the 2026 PWBA national season, and it's the Bowlers Journal Rockford Open. Good evening. My name is Emil Williams Jr., alongside Sydney Brummett. And Sid, we've got an interesting five for you tonight, led by reigning PWBA Player of the Year in New Way Finn, Jane Sin, Lauren Russo, and two players who are looking for their first title, in Cotay and Olivia Farwell. But we got to start with the top seed. She was phenomenal, the round of 12, and of course the previous 18 games or so. When you think about it, and obviously we know how the top seed works, she's going to be last to bowl for score. With that said, she had some early opportunities to break down the pair. I think you noticed something that might be a little bit different in comparison to the player she's on the show with tonight.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to talk to Wei before the show, and she told me the surface prep for all of her bowling balls, and none of them had a lot of surface on it. And then I was watching the practice, and I saw an absolute snowball. She threw it down the lane. It looked like she was trying to develop the right to benefit her, but more than likely that will not be the ball that we see go down the lane. Wei was the player that used the least amount of surface out of all of these players. Her rev rate in that boat allows her to have the advantage, and she doesn't have to use as much surface, which will allow her to stay further to the right, giving her an advantage.
It's an interesting top five, and if you look at Jade Cotay, we talked about her earlier, Sid. Obviously, all the talent in the world representing Team Canada. It feels like slowly but surely she started to find her way, end up settling to the number 2 seed. Olivia Farwell gave her a run for the money for the number 2 seed. Jade Cotay has got everything you need. Can she get it done tonight?
Yeah, I think so. When I asked her what her goals were this year versus last year, I told her, we all knew that you were going to come out and make a statement. When did you know that? And she said, before coming into this year. Last year, I wanted to know how it was going to go. This year, my goal was to make a show. I said, okay, well, now what? She said, I just want to go out here. I want to make great shots, give myself an opportunity to win. I'll go home, celebrate, drill some balls for some people, come back next week and try and do it again.
Speaking of shows, Olivia Farwell making her second career telecast, and she was the round 2 leader, had some stumbles early this morning, right the ship, calm waters, and now she's got an opportunity to possibly make her way up the step ladder tonight.
There is, and my only worry for Olivia is that she has one bowling ball that she's relied on the entire time. Anytime she's tried something else, it hasn't gone well. With the amount of preparation we're seeing from the players on the pair to benefit themselves, I'm a little bit worried it may not benefit Olivia. Hopefully she has a plan to overcome that.
And finally, the opening match includes Lauren Russo and Sin Lee Jane. Jane won this tournament 2 years ago in 2024. Should be a fantastic opening match as we take you to the lanes to get you set for our stepladder finals. Spencer Mosier is our producer tonight. Greg Peasel. We'll be getting you started here in just a few seconds, folks. But if you joined us earlier, you know, and yesterday for that matter, you know that we had two Bowler of the Days. And because you wonderful people are so smart, we had an opportunity to get you some raffle opportunities, right? So everyone's name is basically raring to go. And we'll be spinning here momentarily, and then we'll get you underway. We do also have 2 bowling balls to give away tonight. Again, 2 bowling ball giveaways, one courtesy of Motive, the other courtesy of Storm.
Well, folks, I am excited to announce here 127 of y'all got the right answer for our Bowler of the Day the last 2 days. Let's go ahead and spin this wheel and see who is the winner. All right, and it is Leanne. Congratulations, Leanne. You won yourself a PWBA hoodie. Congratulations, Leanne. Give our marketing team at least 3 to 4 weeks to reach out. They're going to reach out to you with the email that you use to log in to Bowl TV. So everyone congratulate Leanne on winning a PWBA hoodie. And now the action. Take it away, Emil.
All right, thank you, Spencer. And congrats again to Leanna Harada. So Jameson is going to start the match. These two actually tied at plus 158 for 4th, and the tie was broken because the highest qualifier leading into the round of 12 this morning. Jameson gets us started with a strike. Again, she stepped off the plane 2 years ago, Sid, and won this tournament. Hadn't been on the PWBA Tour at that point in several years. of course, bowled the full season, which was the first time she was able to do that, and obviously it resulted in a Player of the Year season. And not only was it Player of the Year, Sid, it was 4 shows, 4 wins, including 2 majors in 2024. And now to Lauren Russo. Speaking of champions, Southern Indiana champion in 2024. Seasons continue to get better for Russo. First shot. And near trouble. It's just the 6-pin. Crowd on hand here at the Cherry Bowl in Rockford, Illinois. They have been fantastic all weekend. Big thank you to Tony Hall, of course, and his staff here at the Bowling Center. I saw John Summer Jr., the Hall of Famer, obviously so important to the PWBA, in the building here this weekend. All right, opening spare is made, and so through 2 shots, Sid. Anything early on standing out, of course, with when we talked about the surface prep for these respective players and the bowling balls, of course, on this very, very challenging 45-foot lane condition. Yeah,
the most important thing I saw during the warm-up for our players was the amount of surface that went down the lane. I saw sawdust basically happening the entire time. Our players want to make sure their ball's going to hook early enough on this 45-foot pattern. The reason is the little bumps you see at the end of the pattern. They want to make sure their ball slows down before that point.
Russo. A good break there. 7-pin only, as the messenger takes care of the 10-pin.
It gets challenging for our players when they need their ball to hook early, but it can't hook early enough that it doesn't want to go through the pins the right way. And when I was chatting with Lauren, I asked her what the difference was between the first block that she bowled and then the subsequent ones, because the first block seems like a bit of a struggle, and then she got on a roll after that, and she talked about the need to have some patience to allow the ball to go through the pins the right way. She essentially said she would like flat 10, wrap 10, 4-pin, and then try to move into 8-10. And instead it's just stand in the same spot, wait for the ball to go through the pins the right way. Know that when you shoot 180, if you're in the right part of the lane, the next game could be 240, and that's a ton of pins.
Great shot.
Gosh, Jane was so funny when I asked her. I was like, Jane, what balls do we think we're going to throw today? And she told me the list of bowling balls. And then I said, okay, can you talk to me about the surface preparation? And she said, a lot. I said, on which one? She said, all of them. Got it. Understood.
Keeping it simple at all times.
Always. Never fails.
Is Jane Sin out to the early double and the early lead. Looking for 3 in a row. All right. 2-5 here for Jane. Had a top 8 finish just prior to the start of the PWBA Tour at the Thailand Open. In fact, New Wave Finn also competed in that event and had a great finish, ultimately finishing in 2nd. All right, quality spare shooting as you would anticipate from Jane Sin. It's been a great year so far, even going back, of course, to late 2025. But with respect to the collegiate season for Lauren Russo, head coach at Maryville University.
She had the most amount of players she's ever had as a coach, and she talked about how she took a month and a half off from bowling because she just really didn't want to. Like, it was, the collegiate season was taking so much out of her that she just wasn't wanting to throw a bowling ball herself. And about a month and a half ago today, she got back into it and said it felt really good, and she was just ready to come back out and compete.
The Yoda 180 right there. raise the rack, hold the spare. On that one, not the easiest of things. Of course, it's essentially, it's given 4-5 vibes, but it's also giving 2-7 vibes. Very intriguing leave here early. Facial expressions from the crowd and everybody else.
And if my understanding of the rules is correct, because the pin setter doesn't pick it up and move it because it will touch the pins and go back up, she cannot ask for a respot. That's the interesting piece. If it was to set it up and move it, you could ask for the respot, but it didn't. It just notices that, hey, a pin's out of spot, comes back up. We remove the deadwood, and then she has an opportunity to shoot this. She did talk to ball rep Jason Wojnar before shooting the spare.
She'll go straight at it and handle it with ease. And the fist pump.
1 for 1 in life on the 2, 4.5.
Well, sometimes you make some and leave some interesting things. But that was handled with ease for Lauren Russo. And talked about, again, with Maryville, pushed Vanderbilt to the brink at the Rochester, New York NCAA Regional. And literally to the brink, going to the if necessary match. Of course, Vanderbilt ended up winning and advancing to the Final Four. But what a season it was for Maryville. Two pin again, and this was something that I feel like honestly said, and this I think also with respect to the practice session and how much surface, but the preparation to try to get off to a good start for these respective players. We didn't see a ton of two pins, right? At this point, you would have seen a couple of splits, a lot of washouts, and I'm speaking just on rounds on the fresh here in this tournament.
Yeah, and what's interesting about it is when you are getting ready for, block 1 of qualifying, block 2 of qualifying, you're getting ready and you're setting up the pair for when you're going to bowl right away. But if you're the 3 players that are off to our right now, they care about developing the lane for 2-3 games from right now. And so their mindset would be different. They don't really care if this game goes well for these 2 players. They care about it going well in a few games from now.
Back to Jane. Bang. Jane coming out the aggressor here, 3 out of the first 4. But Lauren doing exactly what she needs, is remaining clean. And, of course, making the makeable. Sounds so simple, but that was a task, especially with some of the leaves coupled, again, with washouts and the amount of red circles that we saw here this week. Left lane, high flush.
Jane's throwing a bionic. It's a symmetrical piece from Storm. We've seen it a lot on the men's tour, now seeing it come out on the women's tour. From what I've heard from the players and what I've observed, it's a little bit cleaner and a little bit more down lane than something like a phase 2. And Jane actually drilled a second one for the show today. I would imagine to have different surface preparations on them. Lauren, on the other hand, throwing a ball that falls in a similar category, also a symmetric, but Lauren's has a smaller core in it. It's an alert.
Got to see it. And 2 pin again.
And I believe that Lauren ball changed in the 4th frame. Looked to me like she was throwing a synthesis from the jump, and then it may have been a bit too forward. And if she moved, she probably thought it would go high, meaning if she moved to the right and it let it hook sooner, she thought it would go high. So in an alert, it does get through it. But what's so hard about this pattern is if she moves even a little bit to the right, because of how much surface we have to use to get it to hook off of the gutter, it may hook early and almost go Brooklyn.
Russo won title again at the 2024 Southern Indiana Open. It actually came the following week after she made her first show, which was during the Classic Series in Nashville that season. And you felt like she had been avoiding that, and then just gets one right, and then pays the ultimate penalty.
The entire time I've seen players try to ball down, it almost always goes poorly. Almost always. And what I mean by ball down is just less core, right? They go from a bigger asymmetric or a bigger symmetric into a smaller one. It almost always shoots through it. I saw one exception to that, and it was Clara Guerrero. Whenever she would get into a smaller piece, it still worked, but I think it had so much surface on it, and she was throwing it so slow that it still worked. But every other player, it hasn't been the case.
Now back to Jane. Big lead, and she finds trouble, 4-9. So just when there were no red circles, now both players with splits in the same frame, of course. Jane Sin with the lead still. Russo yet to strike. See the trophy off to the right. Thanks to our partners there. You see them as well. She will secure one. Look at Jane. Since returning to the PWBA Tour, it's also allowed, I think, not only us, but maybe even the rest of the players, of course, to really get to know Jane a little bit better. And you're talking about sense of humor, right? Keeps it simple, yes, but she's funny. Leads by 22. That one's left as well, and the rare Brooklyn this week from any player. Sorry, look at Rob and kind of give that little smirk of like, whoa, 4-9, and then we're going Brooklyn. See if Russo gets some start. It looks like a ball change as well. Lauren's first career telecast back in 2023. Since 2023, she has made at least one show in every season, and that streak now will continue here in 2026. Big shot.
That's another ball change for Lauren. She gave me a list of 3 balls. I think we've seen them all at this point. And let me tell you, that's just how the last 2 days have been for the players. This is a change, Zero Mercy, giant asymmetric bowling ball. Hooks early, goes Brooklyn. If I'm her, that's a good sign. Because Lauren's pretty good at humming it down there. She can throw it faster. She could get it through the front part of the lane. She'd probably rather have a ball that would hook early. Slight move to the left.
Okay. Not out of it yet. So Jane Sin sees a double made first. In front of her from Lauren Russo. Last time up, 4-9 on the right. Not that time. What do you think Jane and Rob briefly spoke about after that last shot, of course, on the left lane. Not the strike, but what took place in the 7th.
Probably just don't throw it there again. If I'm being honest, it was really in front of her. It was to the left. But the good part about where she's playing and the surface prep that she's used and just her style of play is that when she does miss, she has an opportunity to go Brooklyn.
Got to stay on line. Dodges trouble into 10-pin. This is an intriguing, but it truly just kind of almost summarizes what we've watched here these last 2 days. Now, with respect to some opportunity to finally kind of set up a pair, right? Try to get off to the best start possible with a practice session and try to give yourself a little bit of room to work with. 223 now the max for Jane Sin.
Yeah, TV shows are a different animal, right? And the question is why. And it's always because there are people setting up a pair for 3 games from right now. That's what's interesting. When you're bowling qualifying, you're setting up a pair to bowl well the first game, and whatever you leave behind is what you leave behind. You don't have to worry about it ever again. You're not going to hit that pair. Here, different story. You know, when Wei comes over and she's getting her practice session on this pair, she knows I have to bowl on it in a few games. I have to make sure it's good for me then, not right now.
That was a must strike there for Lauren Russo. If she struck there and put all 3 in the 10th, Jane Sin would have been looking at all 3 in the 10th to win the match. Russo's still in a position where she will have to perform in the 10th frame to still possibly force a mark. Hold on, ball. And now that situation is a little bit different as well. Now it's just going to be a few pins. Seven, of course, to be exact, from Jane Sin after the missed 10-pin in the 9th. Olivia Farwell waiting in the wings. Great shot. And of course, now that this one is mathematically complete. It's interesting what you just described, you know, to Sid with respect to, again, a TV pair. Lauren, and I think learning from previous experiences, of course, on television, being very quick, right, not hesitating to make changes to make sure she feels good and feels comfortable as best as she can. Got into the zero mercy solid. I thought threw some good shots, of course, minus the first one. Got certainly a better read on the next. And then unfortunate miscue there. And that's been one of the other stories too, right? If you miss a makeable, it's generally a split or 2 behind it or surrounding it. And that's what made the scoring pace partially, of course, also low as well.
Yeah, now what's interesting for Jane is the availability for almost 3 free shots. Right, she doesn't get practice in between this match and her next one where her opponent does. And so these 3 shots can feel like practice for her. Can she get a different look? She is trying a different ball.
Early reminder, we will give away our first bowling ball. Again, early reminder, we will give away our first bowling ball. It will be courtesy of Storm. And it will be in between our matches coming up here. What bowling balls, of course, aside from the Bionic, did Jane mention most that could see the lanes?
Well, if you saw me squinting and reading my notes, I'm doing that because I'm pretty sure the ball she just threw is not on my notes.
Don't you hate that?
You know, she told me, this is a quote, Bionic, another Bionic, And then an Equinox, maybe. An Ion Max Pearl, maybe. And an XL, the blue one, maybe. That's a direct quote of a ball list from Jane before we started.
Owen Russo keeps knocking on the door. She keeps making shows. Title number 2 is in her future. Shout out to Lauren and, of course, husband Matt. He's bowling the World Series of Bowling in Minnesota on the PBA Tour. And they got their freshly built new crib that they will be enjoying as well. All right, so it's going to be Olivia Farwell versus Jane Sin. We will step aside and hear a word from a proud gold partner in Lane Talk. Following that, we'll give away a bowling ball. We'll talk more bowling with you. You're watching the Stepladder Finals of the Bowlers Journal Rockford Open here on Bowl TV.
Got some exciting news.
We now have a pro subscription
for bowlers who really want to take their game to the next level.
The biggest thing, you can tag and label each game.
Whenever you use a ball, whatever oil pattern that you're on,
You can now track the ball's performance and compare balls side by side.
it is incredibly powerful and it is going to help you analyze your game.
Boom! Try Lane Talk Pro free for 1 month. Upgrading the app, and we'll see you on Lane Talk.
All right, we welcome you back to the Cherry Bowl here in Rockford, Illinois, the season opening event on the national tour here at the PWBA, the Bowlers Journal Rockford Open. We've got a Storm bowling ball of choice, maybe of choice. I always say that, and no one actually says it's of choice. But I think it's of choice.
It's like they get the email, and it's like, you must have
Right,
this one.
and I think people would certainly be okay with that still, especially if it's free, for the free 99. With that said, before you hit the button on expense, let's go through the instructions. So we want to make sure people have the best opportunity to win here today. Okay. Number 1, if you're watching in full screen mode, please exit out of full screen mode. All right. So they're just practicing right now. You're not going to miss anything. Get on out of full screen mode. If you don't want to do that, that's okay. Please have a phone or a laptop or an iPad or something that you can then see Bowl TV with. Really what you're looking for is the lower thirds on your video screen. You don't want to miss those because that's where the prompts will appear, and then they will tell you all you need to know on what to do. So the first prompt will be a giveaway is coming up. That's about to happen in a moment. And then after that, once that countdown is complete, then you will be prompted to click Submit Entry. Right? So when you see Submit Entry, that's when you have to press the button. You've got to click where it says Submit Entry, and then that is how you enter to win the bowling ball. Completely different than Bowler of the Day. It's a completely different set of instructions. This is about bowling ball winning. All right, so when you see Submit Entry, that's your cue. All right, we're looking at Olivia Farwell. Now, yesterday, last night specifically, she talked to us after taking the lead in round 2, and she said she only had to move about 2 to 3 boards with her feet. Mm-hmm. Okay, and obviously as bowlers, we all love that. A little bit of a different story today. Got off to a little bit of a shaky start this morning. In round 3, got the ship together, and then made the necessary shots, games as well to improve her position. Almost snagged the number 2 seed from Cotay. But what do we anticipate here from Olivia Farwell? It's been a while since she's been on a show, since 2022, so maybe some early nerves. But what do you anticipate lane play wise?
Well, when I was talking to her about bowling ball choices, she really said one ball, the synthesis. And she had an alert sitting there, and we'd seen her throw it a bit. And I said, well, what about that one? And she said, I don't know. I threw it maybe a couple of frames, and then I would have to go back to this. Not have to, but the best option would be to go back to the synthesis. And so my worry for Olivia is if the pair isn't set up perfectly for the synthesis or in a right way to get past Jane. We saw Jane have a great look at the 1-3. She's going to probably leave something makeable for most of the game, barring some not so quality shots from her. And that is my worry. Olivia is going to get us started on the left lane. Now both of our higher seats have wanted to start on the left lane, just taking note of that.
Just by viewing, does it look like one lane is better than the other?
The right lane throughout the entire week has hooked a bit sooner. Would be my guess. Because when it starts to hook sooner, you think you have to go left, and that's fake news. So you could get tricked on the right lane. I don't hate the play of starting on the left lane. But to me, it would seem like the left lane would actually be more predictable because it doesn't want to hook early.
Look right down. I don't think she quite stuck the landing. She kind of did the same thing in one of her previous practice shots just before the start of the match. Olivia Farwell, past PWBA Rookie of the Year. 27 years old, former Duquesne University standout. Helps ease the nerves a little bit, get yourself off to a good start with a spare. Not a Jane Sin. Defeated Lauren Russo in our opening match. 6 into the 10 off the sidewall for Jane Sin. By the way, congratulations to Keith. Keith, the other part of the instructions at this point is please wait for an email, okay? An email from the Bowl TV marketing squad. All right, give it about, 3 weeks or so, okay? If you don't hear from them then, you reach out to them at marketing@bowl.com, but they will use the email that you use to log into Bowl TV. Oh, what a break. Well, Sid, sometimes you need things to go your way, right?
You sure do. You sure do. But I think the other side of the ball return is who would want things to go their way, right? Because when you're bowling arguably one of the best players in the world and they're getting breaks like this, you start to wonder, do I maybe need to do something different? Do I need to take a bigger risk?
Back to Liv. Didn't stick the landing again. And now a 3-10 for Olivia Farwell. And listen, as a player, especially at this level, but, all bowlers, if the footing doesn't feel comfortable, then we might have something here.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that, too, is we're on wood approaches. Typically, we don't have a ton of footing issues on wood approaches. They usually feel pretty good because they're not affected by the weather around us or the AC in the building. They tend to be a bit more consistent. Usually, as a player, we get real excited when we walk in and we see wood approaches.
Nice spare.
Okay, 310.
I think for Olivia, right, just the early spare, but then the 310, nice round of applause. She's got a big smile. If she can settle in, but specifically, of course, get the footing straight, I feel like she's where she needs to be in the match early. There's a good look at it. Good look at the former Division I Player of the Year. It's online. There it is. High flush from Farwell.
I'd like to point out that's the ball she told me she wasn't going to throw. And if there's anything that you're trying to learn from this show, sometimes you have to do something you didn't think you were going to do in order to win. Hopefully it pays off for Olivia, taking that chance, taking that risk.
Especially against Jane Sin, because she's going to do a lot of that. So simple, You don't like Jane is that one player, really two, right? Because you start to look at a player like a Liz Johnson, and people do draw comparisons to Jane and to Liz, high flush there. But sometimes there are moments, and we have seen it, where it does actually look easy. Expert at repeating. Bang.
Yeah, I said it today during our round of 12, but I had an industry expert 2 years ago when she came back who was talking about her at the U.S. Open. And I was just listening, just trying to learn. And they said, you know what? She's going to play the wrong part of the lane with the wrong ball, and she's still going to make the show. Like, she's going to give this a run because she's that good.
You don't get great overnight. Farwell trying to do some great things here tonight. Carries. Now in a little bit of rhythm. Double on the board.
I learned something about Olivia today that I didn't know, and that she's gotten into endurance sports a little bit. Like, I asked her what she was doing in the off season to get prepared for the season. She said, actually, not a lot of bowling. Like, I've been in the gym more, mostly getting in some longer runs. And she was like, it just makes me feel better when I go and bowl. It makes me feel like I've accomplished more. And we bonded over that, because anytime I've met an endurance athlete, I'm just like, man, these people, like, their mindset is so different. They're so positive. And even though she's had a bit of adversity here to start this match, and like throughout the event, I have to give a nod to that note from her, because when I was talking to her, it feels like I'm talking to an endurance athlete again.
Oh, sure.
The ability to overcome and adapt. And bowling is so interesting, and we talk about it all the time, that we spend so much time alone with our thoughts, right, in between frames. When you're running, it's the same thing. You spend so much time alone with your thoughts. Like, yes, it's great for you physically, but also the mental capacity she's built in the off season, we have to take note of.
Well, I will live vicariously through Olivia Farwell, because I don't want a damn thing to do with endurance running. You hear what I'm telling you, people? That's
so you're
not for me.
saying if I signed you up for a race, you wouldn't run it?
Absolutely not.
Oh.
The only person that would even have a chance would be Shanice Williams.
I signed up for the Chicago Marathon Lottery.
All right, well, let
I
me know
didn't
if you
win.
actually
Though.
make it.
No, I didn't win. I didn't get it. I'll try again next
I'll
year.
go down there and root you on Michigan Avenue. Jane Sin didn't like it,
Oh.
but carries anyway. 5 in a row for Jane.
I expect a cool sign if I get into the Chicago Marathon ever. An Emil-made cool
I'll come down.
sign.
I'll bring my kids.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, we'll
I'll
do
keep
the
trying.
thing.
I'll keep trying. I'll get Olivia to sign up with me.
We'll pass out some water, whatever you need.
Electrolytes.
Right. Well, Jane's got the front 5. She's caved in a couple, got some good breaks. And again, when someone executes this at this level, someone who is so good, right, when you get those kind of breaks, that as the opponent, right, it can make you feel tough. That one was right, and that carries.
I'd like to let everyone know that she should thank every single person who practiced on this pair for that one to hook. Because the amount of surface that everybody else used only helps Jane.
I was going to say, as Spencer would say, unpack that.
Unpack that. I like that, Spence. Yeah, that's a miss to the right. It picks up. Everybody else is helping her. And not right now. It was the warm-up that they got where they used a ton of surface. That helps her.
Farwell. First real trouble here. It comes in the 6th frame for Farwell. And obviously against Sin, you know what Jane has already produced, and that's the front 6, so you almost have no choice but to continue to strike. And she takes one. And so just like that, Farwell looking now and staring down the max of 232, which all of a sudden now seems minuscule to the opponent, of course. Speaking of opponents, waiting in the wings, the number 2 seed from Canada, Cotay, making her first championship round appearance. That is coming up next. To get back at it, it's right, the cluster, the 7 count in the 7th frame.
This exact scenario is what drove players insane for the last 2 days. Is you go high, and then you make an adjustment and you go light. And then because you do that, you think you should ball change and stay further to the right. And then your ball will shoot through it, and you'll 210, 248, 10, some combination of that.
All right, good spare. But now all of a sudden it feels like we're under the watchful eye of Jane Sin.
Yeah, and my biggest worry for, and it sounds weird to say this, I don't think I've ever said this before, but for our first, second, and third seed was that whoever won the first match was going to have so much of a advantage because they've been able to stay on the pair the entire time and watch the transition, where when you're coming in blank, you haven't seen it, you don't know, like sure you get your practice, but you haven't felt all of the transition. Like it's only a benefit on a pattern like this to know exactly where the friction is and exactly where the hold is.
Run ends for Jane at 6. Said you talked earlier during the round of 12 about 2-8s being very difficult on this lane condition. Just briefly explain. Obviously, Jane takes care of that, but why? What were those types of spares? You know, any two-pin combo, but certainly a 2-8 so difficult.
Yeah, I think most people would understand it in a best way if I said that the lanes feel really cliffed, where if you get into the friction, your ball will overhook, and you may hit the left side of the 2-pin, or you get it into the oil just a bit too much, and you may get none of them.
Jane carries again. She'll have to wait one more game possibly for another shot at the Go Bowling 300 Finals bonus that is in effect. $10,000 bonus for any player who shoots a 300 game during the Stepladder Finals. Season opening event, Bowlers Journal Rockford Open. Emil Williams Jr., Sidney Brummett, Spencer Mosier, Greg Piesel on the staff along with Curtis Von Kruger. Bang. Crazy things do happen, of course, in bowling, but you don't expect those things typically when the opponent is Jane Sin. Overall, still here. What a showing. And I thought for Olivia, really this morning, it could have went the other way quickly. Right? It did not start well for her. And she had the wherewithal to get back on the horse, handle business, get back in a position, not only to where she was going to advance, but of course continue to put games together to get her to this point, and that is making her second career show.
Yeah, and the other thing that stood out to me too about Olivia is a brand change, coming into this year. And I talked to her about what that felt like and what the change was like, and she said, of course, like it's uncomfortable at first because there's so much unknown. Like, are things going to go well? Are they not? And as we got closer to the season, she felt like the pieces were just coming together and the puzzle was right, and she felt confident with the bowling balls, and she's feeling more confident with herself. So it was a great thing for her. And 1 for 1, with the new brand for shows, it's always a good feeling to think like, hey, I got it right. I made a good choice. There's always that risk. Even though you might be doing the right thing for yourself, for whatever reason, there's always a fear.
Back to Jane, 9th frame. She will give a look at a different bowling ball, and that results in a Greek church. And it's okay, of course, because Farwell can only get to 202. Right time for that type of move. Earlier we talked about on the previous match, I should say, she had that match locked in the 10th frame, and so she theoretically had at least 2 shots to do what she needed to do. She'll start early here in the 9th and got the full 10th frame to try something else also.
Yeah, and that's even more scary because you have both lanes, to get shots on, not just one.
Next one is mathematically complete. Jane now 2 for 2 here in the Stepladder finals tonight in Rockford.
We're adding another ball to the list Jane didn't tell me about. Come on, Jane.
It's been the case of maybe we're just not going to tell.
Well, it's funny because I think they told me exactly what they thought they were going to throw. And then the pair has developed, I would say, a bit differently than what we've seen in the last 2 rounds. To me, it feels a little bit more like it did the second round yesterday. Was that yesterday?
Last night?
It was yesterday. Yeah, last
Okay.
night. All the days are blending together already, and we're only at stop number 1. Yes, it feels like it did last night, where it hooks a little bit more because everyone stayed to the right with a lot more surface. That's what this looks like to me, where the other rounds, because there were less people bowling on the pair, they didn't develop that much.
Whatever that ball is, definitely has a little bit more hook potential.
It's a Gremlin Tour X. The first one was an Ion Pro Solid. We're going to throw the Ion Pro Solid again.
That was a very popular bowling ball for players out here with respect to the SPI brands. Looks pretty good in the hands of Jane Sin. Will she go to it? We'll find out.
244 is a lot of score on this pattern. So everyone knows at home. In case this is your first time tuning in the last few days, 244, she probably feels like she just shot 300. Like, that's a lot.
And there were a few players who put up some score during qualifying. And so certainly maybe not expected during the Stepladder. Good shot there for Farwell. But it is possible. One thing I noticed about Olivia, and it dates back to the end of last season. She made the cut at the U.S. Women's Open. And really since that moment to the end of the season, so 5 events, she finished 22nd at the U.S. Women's Open, 8th at the Anniversary Open, 9th at the Rochester Open, 8th at the Pepsi Open, then 22nd at the Tour Championship. And so she ended the season about as well, obviously, as you can do it, minus a win or making a show, of course. But that's the kind of momentum you'd love to end the season with. And now she starts a new season with a show, which suggests, obviously, she's on the right path, understands, what she's got going on. She is talented, and there's no question about that. You don't win Rookie of the Year just because. You don't win Division I Player of the Year. Duquesne, you're not a first-team All-American without being talented. And she's getting an opportunity now, again, to show that to the national stage. And that will make it official, 244 to 192. Congrats to Olivia Farwell. We will see Jade Cotay.
Our semi-final match, Jane versus Jade. Who is going to meet?
Of course, our 5th place finisher, Lauren Russo, will take home $5,550 for her efforts this week. Olivia will take home $6,500. Of course, first place tonight is $20,000 here at the Bowlers Journal Rockford Open. All right, folks, when we return, we will talk about the pending matchup. Jade Cotay will take on Sin Lee Jane, of course, your #1 seed, New Wei Fin of Singapore. She is getting additional practice shots, just like always, in between matches. This matchup coming, of course, very intriguing. And folks, if you've never watched Jade Cotay bowl, certainly in for a treat. We'll see that, all that and more. That's next. You're watching the Bowlers Journal Rockford Open right here on Bowl TV. Welcome back to the Bowlers Journal Rockford Open. Emil Williams Jr. alongside Sydney Brummett. And Sid, I think a lot of our fans and viewers will get to see Jade Cotay maybe for the first time possibly. Extremely talented player representing Canada on the national team, has been a part of the youth team for many years as well. Also a national champion at Youngstown State, won that in 2025, just prior to coming out on the PWBA tour. As a rookie, what can viewers and fans expect if they've never seen Jade play before?
A show.
I love that.
A show. Oh my goodness. She is everything that you hope for wrapped up in a player, right? She's got the accuracy. She has power. She's calm, but also urgent. Like, very clear-headed. It seems on the outside, at least. I have no idea what's going on in her brain, but that's what it seems from the outside. And so it's everything that you would want and hope to see in somebody. And then you hope that they see it in themselves eventually as well. And based on conversations with her before the show tonight, it seems like she has figured out everything that we've all seen in her. It seems like she's finally figured it out, that she has it in herself as well. And last year she wanted to get her feet wet, see how it would go. She realized from last year's successes and also the moment she had to learn that, you know what, she can come out here and play at a high level and hopefully win. Make a show was her goal for the year, which is crazy that it's already, checked off, and she has to reassess those goals. But she's somebody that we are excited to watch, and you all are definitely going to be excited to watch as well.
So Jade, of course, making that first show, having the last and the final discussions. It's certainly a place and a space that every player wants to be. Make that first show. It's certainly not going to be easy, but when you make that first show, there's no match that is easy at this point in the tournament. Has Jane started every match?
No.
No, right?
No. Jane started the first one, and she had lane choice. Olivia started the second one, and she had lane choice. And now Jade has chosen for Jane to start.
Semifinal match. Season opening. Bowlers Journal, Rockford Open. Here on the PWBA Tour. Jane Thin picking up where she left off.
And I did get confirmation this is a new bionic, not the one she's been throwing. This one, shorter pin to pap distance. It's going to allow it to flare more. When a ball flares more, it can, think of it like almost like a little bit of a bigger tire.
First look at Cotay. Bang. Who's nervous? Not Jade Cotay.
I'm also so excited because I think in order to beat Jane, you're going to have to do something that maybe you haven't done before or that's not expected this early. And it's that she's already moved left. She's not going to use the early friction. She's going to parallel to the left, find some hold. And then to her right, what's interesting is she's laying it down pretty much in the track of this building. It's the guaranteed built-in friction, high lineage center. She'll be able to utilize that friction to create shape for herself.
She's been in what I believe is a Black Venom.
Yes.
From Motive. Almost exclusively, I feel like. Every time I've watched her bowl, I've only seen her carry that bowling ball around the center. Uh-oh. It looked like trouble from the start. Well, you can't give Jane those early opportunities. Now a good look from head to toe, and certainly a piece of equipment chosen. Carry, there it is. Couple of pins coming at you. So simple, the front to back, the A to B. I said when you look at this, most masterful in how she attacks lane conditions.
Yeah, it is. And it's just crazy because it's so consistent off of her hand. Like, we want to tell players all the time, and us as players ourselves, we want to be so process-oriented that it's almost gross. Like, you want people to think you're just, what is it that, like, the kids are saying, you get the ick, right? When you hear somebody say, like, I'm just so process-oriented. I just want to make good shots. And I feel like it's become such a buzzword that when people say it, I kind of ignore it at this point because they think it's just the right thing to say. Jane embodies it. Like, she genuinely just gets up there, takes her approach, rolls the ball down the lane, observes and changes. That's it.
That one is left 3-6. For Cotay, our top 3 players in the Stepladder finals, our top 3 seeds, of course, New Wei Finn, Jade Cotay, or now our top 3 players, but of course the number 4 seed was technically Jane Sin. All international, of course, Singapore with New Wei Finn, Canada with Jade Cotay, and Malaysia with Sin Lee Jane.
I have to give Jade a shout out because there are not very many women in the bowling industry that are also in the pro shop industry.
Sure enough.
And she, kind of on a whim, bought her own. I asked her what the name of it was, and she just dead face looked at me and was like, Jade Cotay Pro Shop. She said I had a week to make up the name. That's all I got.
It's fantastic.
It's so good. It's so good. And I asked her, I was like, well, has that benefited you? Like, what has that been like? She said, yeah, it makes it a lot easier to practice. It makes it a lot easier for me to learn more about the game. It makes it a lot easier to do my work and find time to bowl. And I think that's the biggest struggle with some professional female bowlers is that most of us do have a normal day job. And the question is, when do you practice? How do you practice? What are you practicing on? When can I get my bowling balls drilled? And she doesn't really have any of that to think about as long as she manages her own time well.
Oh, plenty of folks, of course, and alums watching from Youngstown State, including Coach Doug Kaburski, and I'm sure Jade's dad watching. That's a good dude to talk to. But back to Jane. Fourth frame. 4-pin. Jade coming off Jane, coming off the 244 game against Olivia Farwell. And then the opening match defeated Lauren Russo 211 to 178. Looking pretty simple here early for Jameson, especially after the great shot in frame 1 from Jade. Now she misleft the last 3 shots. And so, of course, the recipe, assumingly, be able to keep it online, make sure she's throwing some good shots, and then make any necessary moves, of course, after that. Will she have an opportunity, though, to get back in this one is the question. Jane, high flush again.
What's also interesting about this match, and I just gave it a lot of thought too, is as players we knew that on the low end of the bowling center, there was an ability to do exactly what you're about to see Jane do here in the replay, and that's keep it in front of you and almost feel like you can miss left. Like that's the way you want to go, and the ball will hold, it'll shim through that space, where when you made your way into the higher side of the bowling center, you could shape it more. If we were having this match on the other end of the bowling center, we may see a different result for Jane, she may be forced to shape it a little bit more and have a different experience than she's having right now. But knowing that our TV pair is down here on the lower end, she can keep it in front of her and have no problem with it getting through there.
A lot of players, of course, in the building watching this one. And for several, as she takes care of that, you see the bleachers there. They had a good view of that spare ball going down the lane and thought it was just a hair left. You got the trio there. You see Verity. There's Diana. Daria is here. There's Kirsten Moore just to the right there, sitting at the first step. Kirsten and Jade were teammates at Youngstown State. Helped the Penguins win their first national championship. And, of course, Kirsten also bowling on tour. We'll take that, Brooklyn.
What's curious is that every shot is left. It's not just her first balls, it's also the spare shots as well. I have to also say, I was really invested in the NCAA women's tennis bracket this year. The Gwynns were also in that tournament as well, making a run for an NCAA national title.
How about that?
Yeah.
Back to Jane. High flush. Jane Sin just built different. And this truly is kind of a patent Jane hit, as you know, just watch how the head pin falls. Watch the 7-pin go. It is rare when Jane does not hit the pocket. Always in control of the 1-3. 9, go!
Oh.
And the wry smile. See, like, I'm sending messengers. Okay. All right.
That was a 4-pin. Just roll right on over there.
Good shot. Fast 8. Well, certainly all you can do. You make that first show and you give yourself a chance. And by being here, you've already done that.
I didn't want to believe it. Several years ago, there was somebody who was leading tour a lot, was bowling really well. And she said a curious comment one time. She said, I don't like when people say that their goal is to make the show. Because once they've done it, it's not that they lose, like it was like they kind of lose focus or a sense of urgency. And if you're just grateful to be on the show, how do you help yourself win? She's like, you almost need that sense of fight once you make the show. And so I'm sure Jade will, adjust. Of course, we always say you have to learn to, first make the top 25 and then make the top 12 and then make the show. And she's done that. And so now I'm starting to believe what I heard that player say. Just because we see it so often. Oftentimes when I hear the person say like, oh, I'm grateful to make this show. Sometimes I want to say most of the time it's not really going their way. It's different than saying I have an opportunity to win. And she can make that change now knowing that she's already made the show. She's going to do it again. How quickly, that'll be up to her and her performances, but she'll learn from this one and be able to do something different next time. And maybe it just won't be against somebody who has only missed once.
That part.
That part.
As the kids say, 7-pin there for Jane Sin. Today there was the possibility of 6 players. Of course, we just weren't sure which of those players were going to do it. But in the round of 12, half the field had not yet won a title. 2 of those players did ultimately advance through, of course, to our top 5. At this point, it is looking like the last 2 Player of the Years on this tour will meet in the
Wait.
season opening event.
Emil, that's crazy. Maybe, you know, how, like the NFL is scripted. This was written in the cards. This was written in.
This was the Thursday night week 1
Yeah.
showdown, or the Sunday night football showdown.
It's still hockey season. I'm not quite checked out yet, but like I am ready for football season. Count me in. I barely lost my fantasy football league this past year. I'm coming back for the trophy. I'm going to draft Jane.
That would be a lot of players' number 1 selections in Jane Sin. So her max, of course, is 258. This one mathematically complete. She's had them wrapped up each match in either the 9th and or prior to the start of the 10th frames. As we watch our final shots here from Jade Cotay. Looks like she made a move right just to see what might be out there.
Definitely did.
Again, for Jade in her sophomore campaign here on the PWBA Tour, cashed in 4 of her 6 events that she did bowl last year. And representing Team Canada. Last year, she did leave the Rochester Classic Series. Okay. After finishing 21st in the Rochester Open, she left to then go to the Pan Am Youth Games to represent Canada and, of course, help the team win the gold medal. Yeah, that reaction said it to someone in the crowd. Oh, geez. Yeah, I mean, when it's going that way, and that shot looked actually really good.
It did. And for anybody who's sitting at home looking at the scores and wondering, how are these players shooting 160 or 170 sometimes? You just watched it. Here's, one missed makeable. You split once. You don't double a lot because they're difficult. It's not that she bowled a bad game at all. That was a great first showing for Jade on a show. 168 doesn't reflect that accurately.
Folks, we will have 1 bowling ball to give away at the conclusion of this match. 1 remaining bowling ball to give away at the conclusion of the match. Jameson, 1 more opportunity to try some different bowling balls. It's interesting that the opponent she is set to face, the top seed, New Wei Fin of Singapore, again, the reigning Player of the Year. Jane Sin won the Player of the Year in 2024. The current performance, and obviously much different tournament and show, okay? But what Wei did at the U.S. Women's Open on the show to run the ladder and essentially be dominant, 10-26 for 4 for New Wei Fin on the U.S. Women's Open show last year, including the 290 in the championship match. Again, way different, but the way Jane has performed here through 3 matches, 211, 244, and now another game in the 250s. Make it 256 to be exact.
Gentlemen, let's give a huge round of applause for our 3rd place finisher, Ms. Jade Cotay. We are going to bring over our number 1 seed, New Wei Fin. She will get her final warm-up shots, and then we will have our championship match, Wei versus Jane. It is going to be good.
Folks, if you are looking to strike up a little bit more fun, which I hope you are, from that perspective, one way to do that is by checking out, of course, Bowlers Journal International, whose name is associated with the Rockford Open here this weekend. And that's how you can do things for all things, certainly that are bowling. Stay up to date with the latest news, tips, and tricks from the bowling world. Get your hands on a subscription now and let the pins fall in your favor. So New Wei Fin, Jane Sin, the practice shots underway in just a moment. Motive bowling ball of choice now. That giveaway is about to start. Again, we'll run through the instructions one more time. If you're watching in full screen mode, please exit full screen mode. If you don't want to do that, or you're watching on your big screen, which I certainly would understand, then have a phone, laptop, iPad, or some type of device handy so you can check things out, and make sure you see the lower third prompts on the video screen, because that's what you're looking for. All right, so what's going to happen first, we'll send out the notification. It will tell you that a giveaway is underway. All right, that has now been done. After that concludes, then you will be prompted to simply click Submit Entry. You will then be prompted to simply click Submit Entry. That's all you have to do to be entered. Good luck to all. Thank you for subscribing to Bowl TV. Emil Williams Jr., Sydney Brummett, and Sid. So as you watch Way toss the rock here, practice for the championship match, obviously, you know, thinking back to her first practice shots on the pair, right? We talked about the surface and, you know, a little bit of course, some additional surface that she said that they didn't really plan to use, but it looked more like some opportunity to try to set something up. So by the time, of course, she gets to the pair, they may be close to what she would prefer to see. From that aspect, obviously she's got her hands full against Jane Sin, but boy, it feels like there's no better opponent right now for Jane than Way.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And it was so funny. I wish I could replay what happened in my head. I went over and I was talking to Way about her bowling ball. She gives me a list of what she's going to throw. Mind you, she had just told me a surface prep for her bowling balls that is at least 1,500 less surface than everybody else. At least than everybody else. Then I come over. I'm hanging out with Emil. We're talking about the show. We're getting ready. And I see Way holding a bowling ball that looks like it was just from Mount Everest. Like, it is an absolute snowball. It is a concept that has been turned from blue to white. It goes down the lane, almost hits the 4-pin, right? Why would she do that? You're exactly right, Emil. She's setting up the lane. She's making sure that it's going to be good for when she gets there, because she doesn't plan on throwing a lot of surface. Now, the question would be, why would Way not use a lot of surface? Where then you look at somebody like Jane, where when I said, hey, Jane, what's the surface on your bowling ball going to be? She said a lot. On which ones? All of them. And when she says a lot, she means 360 or 500. Way is using about 2,000. So it's different for everybody, but it looks like Way is feeling like she needs to actually be in something Pearl at this point in time. She's throwing in her practice shots the Ion Max Pearl. We saw this ball go down the lane a lot for the Storm staffers over the last 2 days. Big court, so it still wants to slow down and go forward, but the cover will get through it.
I missed it if we got a winner for our bowling ball. All right, congratulations, Maurice. You got yourself a Motive bowling ball of choice. Be on the lookout, again, for an email from the Bowl TV marketing squad. They will be reaching out, and they will email you, again, using the email that you logged in to watch with today. All right, so if you somehow got multiple accounts, of course, make sure you remember which one that you often use to log in. All right, congratulations, and thank you for subscribing. By the way, if you don't hear from Bowl TV, then you should reach out, of course. Give it a couple weeks. Give it about 3 weeks, and if you don't hear anything, make sure you check your spam or your junk folders.
Some people have been waiting for a clash of the Titans, if you will, the last two PWBA Players of the Year. Jane winning this event en route to 2024 PWBA Player of the Year honors, and Way being our defending.
There is precedent.
Jane looking to defend
As mentioned in 2024, Jane
PWBA
won this tournament to set off a Player of the Year season. Can she repeat here in Rockford? Or can Way who won 3 titles of her own last year. Who you got in the chat, folks? Way will get us started. Bang. Whew.
Do they have time to make me popcorn for this match? I'd really like to know, because I want to sit back, sip a Pepsi, eat popcorn, and watch this.
Take a look at this shot all the way through. Now back to Jane, and week 10 gets the scorecard started for Jane. 34-year-old has won 3 consecutive matches. It started with the opening match against Lauren Russo. Ten pin. Handled. 211-178. Jane defeated Lauren Russo. Then on to Olivia Farwell, 244-192. And then as you just watched in the semifinal match, 256-168. Jane dispatching Jade Cotay. Of practice swings. Did you see that pre-shot routine in play? Sin Lee Jane, also known as Lee Jane or Jane Sin. Up the lane. You bet. The ship almost went down in front of us. Was that a camera? Just go right down as Way gets the frame. 2 does break down trouble.
This right lane, we were suspicious of it based on the choices that all of our players were making. Every higher seed except for Jade chose to start on the left lane, meaning they were going to finish on the right. The right lanes have prototypically throughout the building hooked a bit more. So it's not a surprise that Way's ball hooked more, not at all.
Way has been able to essentially bowl a full PWBA season during the last few years, much like Jane. Singapore and Malaysia for their early years here. High flush on the left. Their early years during the relaunch tour competing, you simply saw maybe 4, 5, and maybe upwards of 6 events. And of course, due to multiple competitions, things they had to be responsible for, had to represent their country in certain events, of course, certainly on the world stage. The last couple of years, almost the entire squads, and of course for Jane individually, being able to be out here on a regular basis. Great shot. I'll lead back to Jane.
What's interesting is she hasn't had to do a lot differently from match to match. She's always tried something different when she's had an opportunity to, whether that was in the 9th or the 10th frame respectively, but she just slowly parallels to the left. Her hand stays really up the back of it. It's rolly as can be. It allows her ball to stay on line.
Five-time champion looking for 6. Bang.
This feels like an immediate test for Wei. Right. Early triple for Jane.
The cameras are out. You bet. Wow. 8-pin thought about it. The 9-pin thought about it too.
I think that was the 6-pin. I think that was the 6-pin that went late. It was so interesting.
There were some odd 6-pin leaves. Some of them included the 7-pin as well. There were some strange 6-7 splits that were left over time this week. Wei continues.
By the way, test passed. Flying colors, A+. The teachers who put gold stars on papers.
Player of the Year versus Player of the Year 2025 versus 2024. Here's the reigning Player of the Year.
Sliding like 15, 11, not a lot of shape.
Pin match. Got to get up. Carries.
I was worried about that one for her.
That one was a little bit of a struggle.
I was worried. It was a bit more up the lane rather than at the pocket than she would have liked. Her hand is so forward to keep it on line that the worry is, okay, if it does hit the 1-3, what am I leaving? Right, you see the 5-7 go late when we watch this replay. It's a good shot. It's just slightly up the lane. 5-7 goes late.
Both players with 5 titles. Almost identical with respect to the amount of majors and standard titles. And that one was left the whole way. You know, an interesting thing, right? It now feels like the first to miss, which was not the case, of course, for Jane. But obviously, when you talk about a Player of the Year, you talk about the opponent who she is facing. Now 3-10 situation. It all of a sudden feels like a must make.
Which is wild because based on scoring pace for the week, I wouldn't have thought we'd be sitting here saying somebody has a must make situation when they have 4 strikes already in 6 frames.
And handled.
She turned around. She knew she made that.
And the crowd was questioning it. That 2-pin was a little light to roll out.
All right. I would like to point out, though, that Jane is human, and she did miss. She did miss. And it was very prototypical miss, right? You miss to the right a bit on the right lane, and then you go to the left naturally, as most people do. Misses to the left. Ooh, I had a little bit of heart attack. We had a phone in the background go off.
And it felt like that was the old Apple tone where you're looking for your device.
I mean, same. My phone is always lost.
So hopefully, wherever it's at, it's here. Looks like it's behind our stepper and repeat, whoever's phone or watch that is. Of course, meanwhile, a 4-bagger. Turn the phone off. To Wei, making it look simple. Bang, no. 9-pin. She flirted with an 8-pin, flirted with a 9. The weird 6-pin that almost stayed up.
Spencer's going to make us watch this again. You know that? He's going to hit us with the replay. Executes about as good as you can. This one gets to the friction a little bit more than the last one. That's the only difference.
All right. Spare converted. Jane Sin stepping up, trailing by 1. It is winning time at this point. 2 5-time champions. 2 2-time major winners. Both have won the U.S. Women's Open. Both have won the Tour Championship. Both looking for Rockford Open title in 2026, and that was high the whole way.
It's interesting to me because the last 3 frames haven't been Jane's best. And what stinks about that for Jane is good shots provide good information. Good information provides good moves. And the lane may be changing because Wei is to the left of her now. And close enough that she could be changing the lane a bit. And so Jane hasn't been getting the best information because the shots haven't been the greatest, but she's still going to make a ball change here.
How about this? Here
Ball
it is.
change.
8th frame ball change. In our 11th show as a pro, of course, in limited events. Shot of the match, maybe. There it is.
That's
Unafraid.
so cold. That's so cold. I remember being a little kid, and it feels fitting because he just retired from the tour. But Chris Barnes was on a show. It was the 9th frame, and he needed a ball change, and he did. And I believe he went on to win the match. And I just remember thinking, like, I want to do that one day. You know, to have enough confidence in the ball change to do that in the moment when you need it and know it's going to do the right thing.
That one looked left, and she trips a 4.
And by the way, the point of that story is Jane just became that person in someone else's life, right? Some little girl's watching this right now thinking, I want to bowl on tour. And Jane is their idol and somebody that they look up to. And she just made a change in a moment where she absolutely had to. She had to do something different.
Not away. Big shot here. She will not finish the match. But if she strikes, she cannot be shut out. Big moment. Rises to the occasion.
Ooh. It's about as good as it gets.
Two of the absolute best this tour certainly has seen since its relaunch, certainly within the last 3 seasons. What a shot. Again, Wei cannot be shut out. Jane Sin can shoot 257. Certainly would force Wei to have to perform in the 10th frame. 9th frame shot first. Thought the 8th frame was the one. This is the one, and there it is again. Sin Lee Jane. We had a handful of players shoot 270, 260, 250. Truly a handful. And now they're coming out tossing strikes like it's nobody's business on what has been an absolute challenge, Sydney.
Man, yes, and what's incredible about what Jane's doing too is that most times when players ball changed, something didn't go right. And then there were subsequent changes that had to be made. She ball changed, made the adjustment she needed, and it worked right away.
First shot, 10th frame. High flush again, and the 7-pin thought about it briefly, but that head pin came smacking off the sidewall.
It also tells me from what she's been doing, I thought that the first one was a miss up the lane with the Ion Pro solid that she changed to. She's proceeded to do it the next 2 shots as well. It tells me that's what she's looking for. She's looking for the hold. She doesn't want to shape it. More than likely, the Bionic was forcing her to do that. That's why we saw some shots that weren't her best. She was making adjustments that she didn't want to. Now she's in a ball that gives her the picture she wants to see, executing at a higher level.
This is the one here. It's going to force Wei to at least throw 2 strikes. Jane, 6 into the 10. Unbelievable. Big fill shot here. Strike, it's 257. It would be a double and 9 from Wei if that's the case. Pin count important, and there it is. Jane Sin, 257. And now New Wei Fin, the stage is set. The curtain has opened. And right now, the stage belongs to one New Wei Fin. Here's a look, though. The reaction, the fist pump from Jane. Simple math. 2 strikes and 9. First one. Wrap 10. Jane Sin. Back-to-back titles here in Rockford. The Bowlers Journal Rockford Open champion again. Won it in 2024. Now again in 2026. Runs the ladder, Sydney Brummett.
I'd be lying, guys, if I said I was surprised. Only because I thought it was really important. It sounded so silly in my head. Because how often do we say it, very close to never, that being the 4 and 5 seed had an advantage today? And then you're giving one of the best in the world the advantage. She saw the pair the entire time, watched the transition the entire time. She knew exactly what ball to go to because she was able to try it throughout the matches. Created no question in her head.
Does not take away from the performance of New Wei Fin. The top seed performed admirably, but Jane Sin, undoubtedly one of the best in the world. You had 2 of the best in the world going at it. What a way to kick off the 2026 season with a phenomenal championship match. What a moment. There's Tony Hall. Do we need to get Rob some gaff tape for these microphones?
We are going to welcome our 2-time champion to center stage. Our trophy presentation by Tony Hall, the general manager of the Cherry Bowl.
On behalf of the Cherry Bowl and the Summer family, I would like to present this trophy for winning for the 2nd time here in Rockford. Congratulations.
Jane, you have defended your title. That hasn't been done in some time here on the PWBA Tour. How does it feel?
I mean, it feels amazing. I never thought of it, but I guess it's a dream come true. Yeah.
Can you... So much history here at the Cherry Bowl for the PWBA Tour. First stop of the season, coming back over from Malaysia. How do you get comfortable, and what is it about the Cherry Bowl that you just win?
I guess this will be my favorite place.
Now, I know we have a lot of competitors that have come over from Asia, especially this season. Does that help you to, just become a little bit more comfortable being so far away from home, from your family? I know your mom and your brother hopefully are watching this right now.
I bet they are. Yeah, I mean, it's good to have friends from Asia and also players from America. And I guess bowling is like a family sport. We do have friends around, and it's good to be back on tour again even though this is the first storm and we have a long way to go. Yeah, so far I guess I'm enjoying it.
And then just last question for you again. 2024, you were Player of the Year. You won this event. Any thoughts towards that, or is it too soon in the season?
I guess it's too soon.
Is there anyone you would like to thank today?
I would like to thank Storm, 3G, Turbo, and all the ball reps today. Thank you so much. And to the supporters back home, back in Malaysia, I guess they are watching right now. Thanks for staying up. And thank you so much for the crowd today. Thanks for coming up to support us.
Ladies and gentlemen, your two-time champion of the PWBA Bowlers Journal Rockford Open, Miss Jane Sin. Cherry Bowl, it's always a pleasure to be here. We thank you all for coming out. You have showed up and showed out all week. What a great start to the 2026 season. Next week, we will take on Greeley, Colorado for the Northern Colorado Open. We hope that you tune in all summer long on Bowl TV, see who's going to get crowned our second champion, and we will see you again in the future. Thank you all for coming out. Safe travels.
All right, folks, we will have try to get a quick word, as we always do, or at least attempt to, of course, in the booth with our champion. I'm sure it won't be much different from what we just heard, of course, from Jane, but obviously a couple questions just with respect to how she managed and maneuvered around this difficult lane condition and the, of course, the Stepladder finals. So many matches. You know, and obviously, right, when you've got some opponents who do give you some opportunities early, Jane took full advantage of that. And I'm sure she knew that Wei was not going to, you know, kind of let her into the match easy. And that's exactly what happened, of course. It was shot for a long time. And she is first. Is it one of those moments? And obviously, Wei put it where she had to, right? And that's all you can do as a competitor and acts of yourself. It does feel like it just depended on maybe if the roles were reversed and Wei had chosen a different starting situation, right? She puts the pressure on first. It could have been the other way. That's just how great that match was.
Yeah, and it was going to be like that no matter, I think, what the conditions were, what we were bowling on, because those two, iron sharpens iron, and they're going to make each other better the entire time. They're going to push each other to be their absolute best. And with Jane, it's no doubt that she is one of the greatest in the world, if not the greatest in the world. And you always want to know, how is she going to get better? And today we saw her elevate herself from what we did 2 years ago when she bowled here and when she won Player of the Year. And for everybody else, that's a bit frightening. Frightening indeed. And we will, well, let's get, so where's our headset? Oh. Well, there you have it. All right, we are just about set and ready. And here we go. Congratulations again, Jane Sin. We've been in this position before in this very building 2 years ago. Jane, first, congrats. Climbing the ladder sometimes can be tricky. Sometimes you can get into a rhythm. It looked like you were able to get into a rhythm early. What did you see on the lanes in the first match that allowed you to kind of get comfortable and then ultimately get to the title match?
I guess my point of view is I always keep things simple. And my mindset before the Stepladder was just to have fun and take one shot at a time. And we'll see how it goes by game. Yeah.
Well, game by game, and I know you keep it simple, so I'll fast track it, of course, to Wei, right? She comes out firing, you come out firing. I'm assuming that you anticipated that match to be very difficult. You thought she would come out with a big game. What was the mindset for you specifically against Wei, knowing that you guys have met many times before in other events?
I guess I was thinking like this will be a very high game for both of us, right? I mean, Hui has been bowling very well for the whole week, and yeah, I mean, Stepladder is a one-game match, is anybody's game, so I guess the best win. Yeah.
For this week, what would you say for you was the most difficult or most challenging part trying to navigate? What was a difficult lane condition, even though for a game you guys did not make it look challenging at all?
Wow. I mean, all the ladies had a tough time here. We were throwing too many second shots. Yeah, but I guess we just have to grind it off, and we need to work something out. Yeah, I'm glad that I made it through.
It always feels like you have such a position of gratitude when you come over to the States and to play. For you, bowling seems bigger than just bowling. Can you describe what it means to be out here on tour and continue to do that, even though we just saw you come out full-time a few years ago?
I guess I'm still here because I just love to compete, and it's just a passion to be part of the bowling team and to be able to compete with all the bowlers around the world. And yeah, I think I enjoy bowling with this kind of environment. So yeah.
Yeah, and it seems that every time we watch you come out here and you bowl, we're like, man, how does Jane get even better? And you prove us wrong every time again, and somehow you elevate your game. How do you go up from here? How do you continue to do that?
I guess I will. I mean, on the lanes, I'll get by game for this week by week.
Congratulations,
Shane. That is well said.
Yep.
And full season again, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll see you in Colorado?
Yes, for
okay.
sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jane Sin does it again here in Rockford. Jane's got some more media responsibilities, so we will allow Jane to exit. Congrats again, Jane. We'll go to the lanes briefly. All right, Sid and I will close it down. And, Sid, there are certain players, and you watch sports, and there are certain individuals who kind of do leave you speechless every now and then, right? And you lose track of the superlatives and all the things that you want to or use to describe somebody. And I feel like now, with a full year, another full season of Jane, this is where we are with Jane Sin, right? And to some degree also Wei as well. When you talk about what she just described, and we know it's going to be simple, we know she keeps it simple, but deep down there is a true competitor, and we saw that in the championship match.
Simple doesn't mean not competitive. Simple doesn't mean not elite. And I don't even know if it's simple, actually. I just think it's consistent. Like, she goes out and she competes at such a high level that, yeah, we expect it and we know what her answer is going to be, but it's an equation that she's figured out that works for her to win trophies, and I would rinse and repeat as well. Why wouldn't anybody?
As a couple people have mentioned in the chat this week, she's just playing a different game, and there are some athletes whose greatness really supersedes what you should do or how you should play something, and Jane Sin is one of those players without question. So what a way to kick off the season. 2026 Bowlers Journal Rockford Open is officially now in the books, and Jane Sin has won it now back-to-back years in this building, 2024 specifically, and of course now in 2026. We'll turn our attentions next week now to Greeley, Colorado, Highland Park Lanes for the PWBA Northern Colorado Open. We hope to see you all there. We will be there May 7th through the 9th right here on Bowl TV. I want to thank everybody involved this week, certainly the United States Bowling Congress and the USBC Board, the Board of Directors of the BPAA, the Bowling Proprietors Association of America, certainly the Professional Women's Bowling Association, and the athletes that this tour produces. We just saw a glimpse. That's just a glimpse, folks. That was the season opener. That was like an appetizer. We haven't even got to the full meal or certainly an entree. There was even no salad delivered yet. That's what we just got. Unbelievable performance from all the players. And congrats again to, Jean Cotay, Olivia Farwell getting back to the show, Ja making her first telecast, and of course the ball continues to move in the right direction as well for Lauren Russo. We know New Wave Finn will be back. We know that Sin Lee Jane will be back as well. I want to thank Greg Peasel. He was phenomenal. Tech support, camera down lane. We appreciate you, Greg. Curtis Von Kruger getting our lighting together. He'll also have tons of video content for you this week across the PWBA social channels as well as the PWBA YouTube channel. Want to thank our producer, Spencer Mosier. He was fantastic this week. We took off the training wheels a little bit for him, folks. So we appreciate you, Spence. And also, of course, Sydney Brummett, thank you for joining us today. Also, thank you to Hope Gramley, who joined us earlier this morning. For Damon Sirocco, Robin Graves, Devin, Donnie, the entire crew, my name is Emil Williams Jr. We will see you next week in Northern Colorado for the PWBA Northern Colorado Open. Until then, you guys be safe and be well. This is a presentation of the Bowlers Journal Rockford Open. You watched it live and only on Bowl TV. And remember, bowling lives here. Good night, folks.